Good morning and a very warm welcome back to Hudariot Island, which plays host to the 2026 Crucible. It is day number 2 of action, and yesterday, over 200 athletes from around the globe descended on the 3-2-1 Sports Dome. Today, we kick things off with a swim, and only 40 of the best male and 30 of the best female athletes remain. It is finals day, and I'm delighted to be joined by Brian Friend and Ed Haynes in studio as we look forward to event number 1, the swim. But gentlemen, before we get into anything, there has been a whole scoring restructure. Brian, can you talk us through it?
Absolutely. On day 1, we were looking at a big field and a low point system scoring total. So across the deadlift, the dips, and the run, the best you could do was 1 point on each, which would yield a score of 3. After the dust settled, we looked at all the leaderboard and we drew those cut lines, 30 for the women, 40 for the men, that would advance to the finals. At that point, anyone who did not advance, their scores evaporated. They were removed from the leaderboard, and the remaining athletes were rescored for the final day, this time on a 100-point scale, with that run counting double. So while the best score on day 1 was 3 points, the best possible score to start day 2 is 400.
Amazing. So this is what the leaderboards now look like as we head into a day number 2. Ed, take us through our women.
Thank you, Lauren. So let's look at the top of the leaderboard. We've got Astrid Tind. Now, with these score adjustments, she currently has a 15-point spread over last year's champ, Jamie Simmons. But really cool stat here is that all 3 podium finishers from 2020-25 are currently sitting in the top 5. So when we look at that, we had Jamie Simmons, last year's champ, who's currently sitting in 2nd place. Syria Meha, who came 2nd last year, currently in 5th. Then we got Reza Blanova, last year's 3rd place podium spot, currently sitting in 3rd. But very cool statistics here is we're looking at the spread. 12 points separates 3rd place from 6th place Emily DeRoy. And when we look at the second half of the leaderboard, we see Evie Hollis there, representing the UK, a local hero here in the UAE with 16. But we've got 5 big events coming up here, guys, and there's some big names on this leaderboard. We have Camila Takiyava in 18th and Mia Hesketh in 22nd, looking to make some moves.
A huge opportunity to collect points, Brian. And it all starts off in the pool, a single skill. This modality game is proving really interesting to watch. But what about our men? How are they stacking up?
Yeah, similarly to the women's side, you're going to see some big recognizable names pushing towards the top. Roman Krenikov with a narrow lead over Luka Jukic and Kalyan Susan, 9 points separating those 3 very well-accomplished athletes. A big drop-off, 40 points to Ben Fowler in 4th. But he's the beneficiary of a scoring change, moving up 4 places on the overall leaderboard. Unlike the women, the top 2 from last year, not towards the top. Mika Lilliorg and Reggie Fossa, who were 1 and 2, now sit in 8th and 9th. Looking at the lower part of the leaderboard, we actually start to see a bunch of the Masters names filter in here, but scoring adjustments scrambling their placements, and Asama Fat moving all the way up to 17th overall. Jürgen Vetzi takes the final qualifying spot to start day 2 for the men.
It has been such fun on day number 1. Day number 2, though, has all of the promise. Now, we open, Ed, with a singular event. It's separate. These last couple of days, all we've had is back-to-back, workouts done within 15 minutes. But it really gives athletes an opportunity to focus in on what's to come, and that's the swim.
Yeah, absolutely. The swim is the one unique event of the Crucible this year. Nothing before it and nothing really after it. They have at least a 2-hour break before they get back in here to take on the remaining 4 events. So what this is going to allow is basically to simulate what a lot of these athletes are used to doing, putting all their energy and effort into one thing and one thing only, and not having to worry about gaming or strategy, because there might be something coming up. So we're going to see some real hard efforts on the swim, and I'm very, very excited to see it.
As are we. Let's head on over to the team down at the 3-2-1 swimming hall. And they're ready to call you through all of the action. Leading them, Jeremy Austin.
Thank you, Lauren. We are here for day number 2. The Crucible finals are here. Our top 40 men and top 30 women are going to be attacking event number 4. It is the swimming pool race. It is 500 metres. Jeremy Austin, Kate Davey, Mike Bourne with you. We're going to join Jane Obacker on the pool deck a little bit later on. But Kate, let's start with you first. 500 metres, not really the distance we're used to seeing in a swim meet.
No, so you'll often see 100, you'll see 200, you might see, obviously you see the 400, so these are more sprinting events. Then you see 800 and up, so it's not quite middle distance, so it's somewhere in the middle, so it'll be interesting to see how these athletes tackle that.
For sure. And Mike, you know this pool pretty well. Let's talk specifics. What have you got? What little tidbits have you got for us that you can give the viewers at home exactly what's going to happen out here this morning?
So I think one thing that's going to interest me today is the fact that it's a 8-lane, 25-metre pool. It actually is 1.8 metres deep at the deep end and then tapers off to 1 metre deep at the shallow end. Now, we've got some big competitors, tall competitors, so it'll be interesting to see whether people choose to flip turn or people choose to turn and go.
So Largo Wildalis, we'll see how he goes with his tumble turns. But let's look at our starting list for our first heat of the morning. And we're down to 7 athletes only. Make that 6 athletes now. And Paula Pisoni, we saw her coming out early yesterday morning. And these athletes, yes, they might not have done specifically well in the 3 tests yesterday, but this one is completely different.
Absolutely. I think for me, the one to watch in this heat is going to be in lane number 4, Monica Polak. She's also a local. She's based here in the UAE, and I know that she has got some swimming skills behind her. So we'll see if she can put that to the test and come out with a good result in the pool. And there she is on screen now.
Athletes getting ready to go. And can we talk about comfort levels of swimmers? And I know when you go through warm-ups, you do your specific warm-up for swimming. Then you go and heat up as much as you can to stay warm. Is there a bit of a chill in the air?
There is, because the sun is only just coming up, so they'll want it to stay nice and warm before they get in the pool and then obviously hit the water hard. I'm really, really interested just to see how this pans out for some of the athletes actually and how they tackle it really. So some of them are very, very strong swimmers. I think today it's going to be interesting with some of the men as well. I think it's going to be quite close.
Not too far away from getting started. It's the start of a very big day. Yesterday, only 3 workouts. Today, there's 5. And Mike, you've been here before at the Crucible, and they're just extending the couple of days of competition, but they're extending the tests as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They've essentially gone from test 1, test 2, and now they've sandwiched it together and put that swim here in the middle of the weekend to start off day number 2. And we'll have to see how this swim takes effect on them, because some people, if they manage to relax, they won't sort of, take much energy out of themselves. But if some people are not very efficient with their swimming or used to swimming, this really can take a lot out of the body before the later events that are still to come.
We start with our females this morning. We will move to our males a little bit later on. We're going to have a bit of a break between our females and our males before we head back inside. And we'll get to our next 4 workouts, which will find the ultimate athlete over the course of the 2 days. And underway for our first heat of the swim. And we spoke about predictions yesterday, Kate, and you threw it out there straight away and said, I'd love to see someone go sub 3:45. Luka Djukic, who's currently sitting in second on the male leaderboard, the only male to do that. What are we predicting for the women and the men coming up for workout number 4?
So last night at dinner, I think I threw it out to you that I hope that in the men I want to see... I said 7:13, didn't I?
You did.
And I said for the ladies 7:37. So I think someone might go quicker than a 7:13, but I'm going to stick to my guns and say 7:13. And for the ladies, 7:37. So, Miko, what are you saying?
Oh, the Cheshire cat sitting on the,
on
the edge.
Yeah.
He's going to disagree with me.
No, I actually don't disagree too much. I think that we could see a sub-7. Miko Liliorg may go sub-7. And you've also got a few swimmers from previous swims. In the last 6 weeks, actually, we had the World Fitness Project. They had a 500-metre swim. We've got a couple of athletes here that were around the sort of 7:18 mark. And if they look at their swimming over the last 6 weeks and manage to make a few little adjustments, they could go close to the 7-minute mark. So at the moment, I think it's lane number 2, Paula Pisoni, who is taking the lead to start off with, and she's about half a length ahead of Monica Paulak.
So let's talk about technique for a minute, and we've spoken about this off air at length, and how best to go through this 500 metres. And we spoke about leg kick per stroke and all that sort of stuff yesterday. Do you just want to run us through exactly what's happening with Paula right now?
So at the moment, she's looking fairly relaxed. She's trying to get a good reach on each stroke, and she's breathing every 4 strokes. Obviously, she's sort of finding her rhythm, as it were. And the main thing really with a 500-meter swim is it's not quite a sprint. You have to sort of think about your tactics in terms of how you attack your speed and make sure that your breathing efficiency is, efficient all the way through. So making sure that you're getting rid of the air underwater and then making sure that you're taking on enough air when you obviously turn to breathe, and obviously keeping those oxygen levels pretty high all the way through. You don't want to be holding your breath. If you do that, the heart rate's just going to skyrocket, and if the heart rate skyrockets, we're just going to get heavy in the water.
You end up sort of gasping as well, don't you? So if you've held your breath, you obviously hold on to the CO2, and then as you come up, you're sort of gasping because you're trying to get all the air out and take all the air in as you're, in one head turn, which is quite a lot to do.
Now we look at the athletes in the pool currently, and you can look at me as a very inexperienced and inefficient swimmer. Is it the breathing every single stroke that is a telltale sign that, hey, you're not an efficient swimmer?
Yes and no. So if you are an efficient swimmer, breathing sort of what we say is every 2 strokes, as it were. So you would breathe 1, 2, breathe. That is someone that is actually very efficient to be able to do that because they can expel enough air to then take on enough air. I wouldn't recommend someone that's a novice swimmer or a beginner swimmer to be doing that because they're not efficient at getting rid of enough air and taking it on. So the idea would be to try and keep yourself in a rhythm and sort of get rid of the air gradually and slowly, and then turn and then take on the air, a big breath and get it all back in again. But if someone is breathing every 2 and they're not efficient, that means that they are not efficient with their breathing. They're actually struggling a little bit.
Angela Hill continuing, 2:25 down and getting very close to that halfway point.
Yeah, so as we can see, she is breathing every 4 strokes at the moment. So she's sort of making sure that she gets rid of that air within those 4 strokes, turning, taking on the breath again, and just getting back into that same monotonous rhythm as she goes through the swim.
Paula Pisoni just having a quick break at the far end of lane number 7. And going to a little bit of breaststroke as well. There hasn't been a stipulation on how you can progress down the pool. Obviously, freestyle is going to be your most efficient and effective. Is there a second stroke that you would go to if your freestyle is starting to fail?
I think the fail-safe is probably to go to breaststroke is probably the next one. The reason being for that is they can actually do breaststroke with their head continually out the water. That way then they can probably get a bit more oxygen in, get the air flowing, and try and get themselves back on track in terms of bringing their heart rate down a little bit. It is a slower stroke, but obviously, if you're not being efficient with your breathing in freestyle, then breaststroke is probably going to be your next best option.
Angela Hill still continuing. The South African now 300 metres down, 200 remaining. And a bit of a mix for Paula Pisoni with the breaststroke and the freestyle. An athlete's able to touch the floor. We spoke about this off air, Mike, just before we came onto broadcast. Can you just explain a little bit about what is happening with the floor of the pool?
So the floor is 1.8 metres deep at the start end. The following end is 1 metre deep. So it's actually pretty shallow. Now, an efficient swimmer would probably still be able to tumble turn at this depth, but if someone's not used to it, they're probably better to do a touch and go turn. They are permitted to put their feet down on the floor during the race. However, they're not allowed to propel themselves forward from touching the floor. So they can touch the floor at either end and then push off the wall like a normal turn. But if they touch the floor in the middle of the pool, they would have to literally just take their feet off and start swimming again. They're also not allowed to touch the lane ropes and propel themselves forward through the lane ropes either.
The second of our endurance events over the course of the 2 days at the Crucible. This is the Crucible Finals on day number 2, and our final 30 women and 40 men battling it out for the ultimate athlete. Kate, we saw the run yesterday. How does a 500-metre swim compare to a 1,000-metre shuttle run?
It's very, very different. And I think it's very, very different for the athlete as well, because most of these athletes probably run weekly. A lot of them probably don't practice in the pool. And I think it's going to be down to technique. So if you look between lane 2 and lane 3, for instance, the arm technique is very, very different. In lane 3, we have very, very high arms sort of coming out of the water. And in lane 2, sort of she's bringing the elbow out and then taking it forward to catch the water. So a lot of it's going to be down to how you breathe, how your technique is, and how you move through the water. Mike and I were actually discussing yesterday about how you fight the water or you don't fight the water, and we were discussing the arms, and sort of Mike was going into some detail, which was really, really interesting, about the most efficient way to move through the water, weren't you, Mike?
Yeah, basically we're talking about the catch of the stroke, and basically we want to be moving as much water as we can backwards for us to go forwards. It is that simple, but it's to make sure that we are utilising the hand and the arm as well to move that water back.
And Magomedova in lane 3. Very interesting positioning with those hands. And talk about arm position, because Magomedova, with those bent arms and sort of curling the water towards her body as she propels herself down the pool. Efficient, non-efficient?
So what we're looking for in terms of the arm position is, imagine you've got a centre line down the body. Your arm should never cross that point for one. Secondly, I always like to try and think of it as if you think of your arms on train tracks, so you've got like a line sort of just down the outside of either side of your body, try and stick to that line. And then we want to think about the catch position of your hand. So as the hand enters the water, you will then sort of take a sharp angle, pointing the hands down towards the bottom, and then drive the water backwards with the hand and the forearm.
Great analysis of exactly how to do things very well, something I cannot do for sure. But Angela Hill on the back end now. She's only got 25 metres left, and it's got that little outboard motor working very well for her. The kick a lot more powerful on this last length, and Angela Hill getting done. 8:47 provisional time for Angela Hill, and our first competitor to get the swim done. A little bit slower than your predicted times.
Yeah, I think that Angela Hill there is just basically showcasing what South Africans are capable of doing for swimming. Obviously, they're known for being good around the water, growing up surfing down in Cape Town. So clearly she's had some swimming background or some swimming through school. To get herself a sub 9 minute is a decent time to start off the first set for sure. I think that we've got Monica Paulak is also coming down her last 25 metres as well, so she's going to get in well under the time cap. And then not far behind her is Magomedova.
Speaking of time caps, we've still got 5.5 minutes left of our time cap. And once we are done, we are going to get straight back to our studio team that are going to break this down after each heat. So Lauren Smith, Brian Friend, and Ed Haynes are going to be there on the desk.
And I do think if they don't make the time cap today, you're out, aren't you?
You are, absolutely, you are spot on. So disqualification coming if you don't meet the requirements of the swim in the 15 minutes, or if you don't meet the minimum work requirement for the incoming 4 workouts later on this afternoon.
Will be interesting to see what the athletes have to do. Now, these 2 girls have actually finished the race well under the time cap. Be interesting if they have to stay in the water, which is usually standard practice with swimming, that you have to wait until the race is over. But at the moment, we've got 1 in and 1 out. And I'm not sure what the best thing to do at the moment would be, because if I'm honest, I probably want to stay in the water and keep myself a bit warmer in the water that's probably warmer than the outside at the moment, because it is quite chilly outside.
So talking about that, staying in the water for the end of race, what stipulates the end of the race? Is that the last competitor, or is there a time frame at elite competition?
No, elite competition will just be the time frame that it takes the last competitor to finish.
Okay.
Because there has been many times before where someone has got out the pool early, or even with a relay, in fact, where a teammate has jumped in to celebrate before the last team has finished, and then a team has been disqualified because they've jumped in the water before the race is over.
Didn't that happen at the Olympics?
At one point, I think it did, yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't
I'm
the Aussies
sure it
do
did.
that?
It might
I
have
think
been
it was the
as well.
Aussies. Of course it was the Aussies.
You wouldn't want to be that person that jumped in the water, would you?
Oh, things you learn along the way.
Yeah, so we're with 11.5 minutes into the swim. We've got lane 3, Aisha Magomedova, who has 100 metres remaining, and also Jen James in lane number 6, who has 50 metres remaining. So they should be able to get into the finish before the time cap.
So let's talk about that last 100 metres. It's like the last probably 200 metres of the 1,000 metre shuttle run we saw yesterday. How do you stop yourself from kicking on a little bit too early?
I think it is one of those events where if you're a good swimmer, or at least if you've been swimming and actually get to know yourself in the water, you'll be able to know when you're spiking your heart rate or going too hard. I think with this 500 metres, with it not being a sprint, you are best to start off at a pace that is controllable and then essentially try and speed up towards the end.
Jen James touching in lane number 6 and rounding things out for workout number 4. The first of our second day. It is the Crucible finals. And ticking the box with 2.5 minutes to spare. Our final 2 athletes still in the pool. Asa Magmadova in lane number 3, commencing her final 50 metres, 2 laps remaining. Paula Pisoni still with a little bit of work to do, and there is a potential she is not going to get this completed in the time cap of 15 minutes.
Yeah, she's still got 175 metres to go for Pisoni. She's really going to have to start moving and get back into that freestyle sort of stroke. At the moment, you can sort of see she's got a bit of a side stroke going on, which is kind of like used in the commando, like a commando sort of stroke in the Marines, etc.
I'm a big fan, side stroke.
Yeah.
That's my go. That's what I was asking about, which other stroke you go to, because I go to side stroke.
But this also showcases that, you know, swimming is one of those things that, you know, it shouldn't be shied away from. And not only is it great for your fitness, but, you know, it's just great overall for the body. And if you don't add it into your training, when things like this pop up, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, I've definitely used it a lot more. I hadn't been in the pool for a long time, and yeah, through my recovery got back in the pool, and it's been amazing, and it's brought it all back to me, and now it's back into my routine regularly, even though I don't necessarily need to be in the pool for my recovery. So yeah, the benefits are fantastic.
I think, yeah, usually when we talk about CrossFitters doing the swim, the majority of them do it once a week on their sort of active recovery day. Again, because it's gentle on the body, or it's nicer on the joints. It's low impact, and therefore, you know, when they've had a heavy week of training, it's good to get the body moving. Low impact, no weights actually helps them recover. However, when we do just focus on it in that point, that's when you don't get better at it, because you're not actually pushing at a hard intensity.
Not too far to go before we hit that time cap of 15 minutes, and Pisoni battling to try and get as many meters as possible, but she is going to be running out of time to get that done and won't be progressing forward in the Crucible finals for day number 2, unfortunately. And time now all finished up for our first heat of the morning. Our women getting things underway. Our gentlemen will be joining us a little bit later on.
And we have a beautiful sunrise now.
We've got a magnificent sunrise just to our backs now, as it's getting a little bit lighter here.
Hopefully the judge will tell Pisoni that she is done and she can actually exit the water now and not make her swim another length.
All right, the 4th member of our team, Jane Oback, is standing by on the pool deck.
Angela, you had a beautiful swim out there. I know that you've got a background in lifesaving in South Africa. Can you tell me how you trained for this event?
I did a few pool swims, but to be honest, I actually did a lot of open water swimming because I did the T100 at the end of last year. To train for this, you just got to keep going, just keep moving, don't stop. Even if your body builds up a little bit of that lactic acid from the oxygen trying to race around the body, just keep moving. And yeah, you'll get from one side to the next.
Awesome. I also noticed that your splits were so consistent. Did you have a plan going into that?
Just keep moving. you know the song, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. That was going on in my head.
Awesome work. Good luck for the rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angela.
Well, a performance there from Angela Hill out of South Africa. And so interesting, Brian, to see that she had done the T100 triathlon earlier in the year, and that played a big part in her performance out there today.
Absolutely. I mean, you can tell pretty quickly when someone's comfortable in the water, and she's obviously put herself in that scenario time and time again, and a simple mantra can help and go along.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Let's take a little look, Ed Haynes, at her swimming because it was, looked pretty phenomenal comparatively to some of the other athletes in the water.
It absolutely was, Lauren. So here we have Angela Hill. And so there's a couple of things I want us to look at here. One thing is actually just looking at the feet, and what you're seeing for most of the time, not just here, if we just keep on playing this through, that the feet are actually sitting at the surface. That's a really good sign that she's maintaining a nice straight body line. And that's basically going to make her as streamlined as possible to propel her forward. Now, one thing I will say though, we're going to pause at next breath, just here. Now notice that the head, for any swimming aficionados that want to really improve their stroke, which is me, notice that her head does lift quite high out the water. And what that does is at that same point, the feet drop below the water. And so that body angle is now changing from nice and flat at the top of the surface to this slight angle here, which is going to apply a little bit of drag. And in a competitive field like that, that might start to have an impact in later heats.
Well, her best result to date was 24th on the deadlift, but she's going to boost that right up with a great performance on the swim. But let's look at how all of the field shook out. And it was an early start by Paola Pisoni, but she didn't get the job done. It just goes to show going out hard cannot pay dividends in the end. But of course, Monica Paulak there in second. And Jen James, who we weren't actually sure was going to turn up this morning, comes in third. So I'm so glad she got herself into the pool. But a great way to start day number 2 here at the Crucible Finals.
Welcome back to the pool deck. It is day number 2. The Crucible finals are here, and we have got our top 30 women attacking the workout number 4, the first workout of the day here. The ultimate athlete we are trying to find at the end of the day. And our start list for our second heat of our ladies. And Mia Hesketh, a big name that we have been used to seeing in competition, going away, having 2 children, and then coming back to competition. We spoke about it yesterday, scratching that itch. And Kate, you know all about scratching itches because you've been injured for a little while now, and I'm sure that's all you want to be doing.
Definitely. So obviously after having 2 children, I didn't think I'd get back to the level I did. And now I'm out a little bit because I'm injured, but I still have that itch and I still want to get back in there. So I'm excited to see what she does. And I think it's so amazing when you see, them. They're just getting ready to start.
Underway, and some different techniques getting into the pool. There's no requirement to actually dive in the pool.
Does give you that advantage though. So obviously you can move faster underneath the water than you can on top of the water, so you can propel yourself forward.
Yeah, so as you was going to say, if we notice the difference between heat number 1 and heat number 2, we had no one dive in the water in heat number 1. They all slid in. I think maybe just a little bit weary of the shallow dive. And at the moment, if you look at the 3 center lanes, we can see 3 strong swimmers. Lane number 3, Dalia Youssef, she had a great start, and she's looking strong to begin with on this first 100 of this 500-meter swim.
Talk about pacing for 500 metres, and as we spoke about with Kate earlier in the intro about not the specific distance you see in competition, how do you pace this?
I think that really you're looking to probably pace it off the same pace you would swim a 400 and then just see how long you can hang on for the 5th. And it is a difficult one. It is a distance that's not the usual. In the US, you do see 500 yards, but 500 meters never really shows up anywhere in the usual swimming competitive world. So you probably want to start off easy, not essentially an easy pace, but a pace that you know that you can sustain, and then try and turn it possibly into negative splits.
Few of our athletes going through the tumble turn, and Youssef looking very comfortable and currently leading this heat a lot quicker than our first heat of the morning.
And you could typically see slightly faster times as well because it's a 25-metre pool. So they're getting double the amount of push-off. So if you're utilising your turn and you're pushing off enough, then you can glide a little bit more than if you're in a 50-metre pool.
Interestingly, Yusuf with the tumble turn one end and the push-off on the other end. Iris Rusenloff tumble turning both. Now, Mike, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so this is actually quite technical. In terms of the tumble turn itself, you can gain an advantage, obviously, from doing the flip turn. Now, if you're not comfortable doing the flip turn in the shallow end, a touch and go can be quick, but I still don't think it's as fast as a flip turn. And one of the things I wanted to mention, especially when the men come up later, when you've got those taller athletes, if you think of the space underneath them to tuck up their legs and do a touch and go, as opposed to them actually letting their legs fly over the top of them, they actually might have more space doing a tumble turn as opposed to a touch and go. The women here obviously some of them choosing to do a tumble at one and a touch and go at the other. And if you actually watch Iris in lane number 5, she moves really well and is actually much quicker through her turns.
How daunting is that tumble turn in shallow water?
It's not necessarily the actual turn that's daunting. I'd say what's more daunting is the holding the breath to do the turn. And again, this is where the breathing efficiency comes in. If you're not efficient, with your breathing patterns moving into the turn, that can certainly spike the heart rate if you've not got enough air in before you do your tumble.
Just to the left of screen, Anastasia Jasovits dispersing with the swim cap, so that's going to slow her down a little bit. How much does that swim cap restrict you or doesn't restrict you when you're going through the water?
I mean, I can talk as a male. I'm not a big fan of swim caps, but I also have very short hair, so I don't have to worry about it going in my face. The problem for Anastasia is going to be if that hair comes in front of the face and goes over the goggles, it can be a little bit disorientating if it blocks her view.
I think when you're talking at obviously higher levels and you're trying to be as efficient through the water as possible, and we've seen obviously different swimsuits in the past and things like that, I think obviously they're looking at milliseconds when it comes down to that level. At this level, I don't think it's going to matter too much if she takes the swim hat off.
No, you're right. But again, it will create some drag. I'm sure that she's probably used to swimming without a cap at some point. But again, I think for her in this instance, it's probably more so just making sure that her view is not obstructed and that she can see the wall. One thing to note here as well that a lot of people at home might not realise, if you see the black line on the bottom of the pool and you'll see at the end, there's sort of like a T shape at the end of each lane. That signifies the 2 metre mark from the end of the pool. So that allows swimmers to know if they do obviously get a bit disorientated that I'm 2 metres from the end.
Because if you are tumble turning, you need to, it's not just about the turn, it's judging how close you are to the wall. You obviously don't want to turn too far away because you won't get the push off. But if you turn too close to the wall, you're then going to potentially hit the wall. You want to have a nice tight tuck and you want to be fast through that tumble turn as well.
How close is too close?
When the wall's in your face.
Yeah.
When you go to turn and bang your head. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the anatomy of the person. If they're a very tall person, anything from sort of 1 metre is going to be very close with someone tall. I mean, depending on the efficiency of the actual flip itself, probably just over half a metre is probably way too close.
Because I'm just thinking if what Kate just said about being too far away and you don't get that push off, that full squat or that partial squat position off the wall, how close can you get to get the full benefit of that almost, diving into the pool?
It's got to be, watch Iris there, she's around about 1 metre in. So you want to be thinking that last stroke coming into the wall, that hand is then going to come under, and as the hand comes under, the body then flips over the top. So you're keeping yourself nice and tight, you come into that sort of squat position on the wall, and then a big rebound, sort of springing yourself in a nice streamlined torpedo shape style through the water, and then back into your swim.
And she keeps her head really low as well while she's swimming. So her head is down, she's just turning it to the side as well. So obviously if you're swimming and your head is up, it's even more resistance that you've got to swim through.
Absolutely. I'm quite lucky. I've swam with Iris quite a few times. She's also based here in the UAE. And I'm also really happy just to see just above Iris at the moment, Mia Hesketh still moving through the water fairly well too. I've worked with Mia years ago on a swimming when she used to live here in the UAE too. So it's great to see her moving through this 500, and she should finish well under the time cap.
Mia on that last turn was sort of like a half tumble turn, half push off. Is that something you worked with her?
We've worked
on
on
efficiency?
Yeah, we've worked on tumble turns and stuff before, but again, it just depends on how much they've been in the water leading into this competition. You know, you can practice tumble turns all you like, but if you then sort of stop swimming for a large amount of time and then don't do them, then it's one thing you have to start practicing again just to get used to them. And at the moment we see Mia, she's coming in, obviously just a touch and go there on the shallow end. But she's moving well. She looks calm, she looks relaxed, which is great to see considering where she used to be a few years back.
And we discussed that yesterday about being relaxed in the water and fighting the water, and how some people obviously are quite aggressive and trying to sort of move the water too quickly rather than just relax their body and just flow through the water. And you had some really great points about the leg kick as well.
Yeah. So Mia there, yeah. So it's, again, Mia with her tumble turn, it's not quite a full tumble turn over the top. It's sort of like a half and half, as it were. So we'll call it a hybrid of the two. But again, going back to your point with the kick, yeah, we want the kick to be nice and relaxed on the surface to make sure we're nice and flat moving through the water.
Dali Youssef just getting finished up on that 8-minute mark and a 45-second lead over the leader from heat number 1, Angela Hill. So Dali Youssef throwing down the gauntlet.
Yeah, Anastasia Jasvits as well. 8:18 unofficially on the time. Iris Rusenlov, she's just finished too. I think she'll definitely be happy with that time too. So at the moment, that's a top 3 finish for her. And we'll have to see how the other women stack up as we go through the heats.
So a lot faster as we move through, which we don't normally see in different events. So we go from where we were yesterday with our dips, we go our deadlift and our run. We go into the pool completely. They don't correlate at all.
No. And I think, again, this is what showcases the actual, the event itself, as the swim can be such, a niche event for people, and it really can throw a spanner in the works.
Mia Hesketh continues her progress down the pool. Not far to go. 1 touch remaining for Mia Hesketh.
Yeah, she's coming up through into her last 25 now as she's going to touch the wall. She'll certainly be happy to see the end coming up her way.
You could hear the splash of the water just through our atmosphere mics. Now, is that something you want to be hearing, or do you want that smooth entry with those hands into the water?
Good question again. If we think of the actual distances, with the 50s and the 100s and it being a sprint, you're not thinking about how nicely you're placing your hand in the water. The arm's just going in and you will hear, a decent splash. But when it comes to the longer distances, sometimes you have a bit more chance to place your hand. But again, it just comes with someone's stroke. Like for myself, if I was swimming, I actually have quite a little bit of a slap myself because I really relax my arm as it comes over the top, and I'm relaxing it until that final point of it entering the water.
So I'm supposing if you go to a 1,500-metre race, you don't want to be getting any slap at all because it just wants to be so smooth.
Yeah, it wants to be smooth, it wants to be relaxed, and obviously we won't have as much splash noise from the kick, because when we're swimming these longer distances, we don't kick as much. By kicking too much, we actually waste a lot of energy, and we don't get massive amounts of propulsion from the kick, especially at that top end. We're probably looking at around about 10 to 15% of your overall propulsion is from your kick, and that's really as well if it's an efficient kick.
4.5 minutes remain on our time cap for heat number 2. It is day 2. Not too far away from finishing. We have got 4 minutes now, and time really ticking away. Lillian with probably the only chance to get completed.
Yeah, just under 4 minutes to go. Lillian's gonna finish here. She's in her last 50 meters, so she's got 1.5 lengths remaining. We've got Dima up in lane number 7. She's still got 200 meters to complete. That's 8 lengths of this pool.
Dima in lane 7 going to the breaststroke as Lillian is about to touch for the final time. And do we see, as we get towards the back end of a distance or an event, where technique gets a little bit better based on the fact that it is getting close to the end of the event?
Maybe not necessarily better, but faster, because they know that the end is near. They know that they can leave it all in the pool, as it were, you know, empty the tank. So you'll probably start to see them just moving that faster pace just to get themselves towards the end, because they know they've not got more to go.
Lillian with a very, very quick last 50 metres. And Dima now with 2.5 minutes remaining. Now, recovery from swimming, you've had a fairly hefty day yesterday. Yes, it was short, but the fatigue levels were massive. Is this used as a little bit of active recovery leading into the second day of competition? I'd love to get both your opinions here.
It depends if you're a swimmer or not. So
Okay.
I hadn't swum for a little while. And when I got back in the pool, my first session, the next day I could feel all those muscles that weren't used to being used. After a few times of swimming, I don't feel anything. It is more of an active recovery. Even if I have a really hard swim session, it doesn't faze me too much the next day. So for some of these ladies who maybe haven't practiced this much, or they're not used to swimming, they have been obviously using their lats and, you know, their arms and things like that in this. And we've got later on, we've got the strict pull-ups coming up with weight, which is going to use a lot of those muscles. So if they're not used to it and they're a little bit fatigued, it may play, they have a bit of recovery time from the pool to then, but that could affect their performance.
Yeah, I completely agree there. The fact that if someone is an efficient swimmer, this essentially is going to be a free pass for some. If they're swimming well, it can be an opportunity for them to sort of use it as a chance to sort of, you know, move the body, feel nice and relaxed going into the events later on. However, if someone is not efficient, this can take a lot of toll on the body. And a lot of toll just on fatigue factor. So they're going to have to really make sure between the break of now and the next event that they're getting some good supplementation in to refuel the body.
We're talking on the way in with Ed Haynes and breaking down just lactate on certain movements and how lactate's going to be an important part of the 20-minute bike erg test later on today. How does lactate affect time in the pool?
I would say that the lactate is probably going to take more effect on the legs, and that was what I was coming back to earlier in terms of if we're kicking too hard to start with, the legs are going to be the first thing to go. And obviously we don't want those legs to go when we've got a 20-minute watt test later.
Or a 7RM front squat coming straight up after this.
Exactly.
We have got just under 20 seconds remaining now. Dima Zebdia with a last chance to get some meters in before we finish up our second heat of the morning for the Crucible finals here in Abu Dhabi. The sun is rising, getting a little bit warmer now. And the last chance for Dima to get finished. And that is time on our second heat. You can just see exactly how shallow that pool is at that end. Let's throw down to Jane Urbacher, who is on the pool deck.
Dalia, you had a great swim, 8:04. What was your training going into that?
Actually, I'm a former swimmer, so I jump in the pool from now and then, not consistently, but due to my ex-swimming, so I'm good at it.
Awesome. You looked confident all the way through and held a very consistent pace. There's 4 more events today. What are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking for the 20 minutes in the C2. It's going to be a burner, but I'm looking forward to it. And also the strict press. I'm a little bit off about the front squatting, but let's hope for the best.
Awesome. Good luck. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Dalia Yousafzai with an 8:04. But what was so noticeable, Brian, was the fact that the top 3 was so close and all above those of the previous heat.
Yeah, I mean, Angelo with the swimming triathlon background, a pretty good time, but from the start, there was some separation. Dalia, then Anastasia, and then Iris. But that 5-meter gap that they had never changed. We saw in heats in the running yesterday, someone hanging off the shoulder and making a pass late, but none of the others were able to do that in this heat.
Ed, a 15-minute time cap. I mean, in the field that we have some people who are going to be so proficient in this and some that are not. How's that going to catch people out?
Yeah, I think like all the tests we talked about yesterday with the dips and, of course, the 1,000-meter run, got 20-minute bike erg later. Pacing is a big part of this. What Brian just alluded to was, you know, our heat leader just started fast and then just held that pace. But for those at home who are watching, 15 minutes, these athletes have to complete within that time cap. And if they don't, they're removed from the competition. So if you want to do some quick maths at home to figure out if your athlete is potentially going to make it, what we're looking for, thanks to our friend Mike Halpin, the stats man on the floor, we're looking at 90 seconds per 50 meters. So that means there and back down the pool in 90 seconds. And if they can maintain that pace, they are going to make it in the 15-minute time cap. Or we're looking at 3 minutes per 100 meters. So for those who love stats and maths back home, you can do your maths and know if your athlete's going to make it.
Look, Brian, talking of stats and maths, there has been a change of scoring in day number 2. And I think it's worth revisiting before we look at the overall leaderboard.
Yeah, on day 1, it was points per placement or low points in order to qualify. But today, those points have been rescored for all the athletes who advanced to day 2. And if you're able to win any one of the 5 workouts remaining, you'll earn 100 points today.
Cool, let's take a little look at how our ladies have stacked up. And those that are in red are the current heat that have pushed forward into the overall. And of course, Dalia Youssef right now with a time of 8:04. She is going to be our woman to beat.
Welcome back to the pool deck. We are here for day number 2 of the Crucible. It is the finals, our final day here in Abu Dhabi. Jeremy Austin, Kate Davey and Mike Bourne with you. We are up to heat number 3. Only 4 heats for our females before we move forward to 5 heats of our men. And things are going to start to heat up a little bit. Our starting list with a few more familiar names and things starting to get interesting as we work our way towards the end of day number 2 and we find our ultimate athlete. Mike, no doubt swimming is part of that ultimate athlete package.
Absolutely. I think swimming is a life skill for one. So the fact that they're swimming in a competition is always exciting for me. I love watching swimming, love seeing how people manage it. And obviously, like, we're going to see different starts from the block, from the side. People might enter the water.
Like a 3-point sprint start on the edge of the pool. Now he's getting lower. Is that a benefit or is that going to thwart their progression down the pool?
I think the getting lower there is just to basically eliminate the risk of diving too deep with the fact it only being 1.8 meters deep. And if they're not, like I say, efficient or even confident into diving into the water, that's just going to mean they're a bit flatter entering the pool.
Great shot of our pool here. The 1 meter depth at this end. The far end is 1.8 meters.
Yeah, and obviously once we go back to those underwater views, we'll be able to see the technique a little bit more. At the moment, we've got lane number 2, Sarah Thompson, taking the lead to begin with. Just coming up to that first 50, around about the 40-second mark in that first 50 meters. Really, we're probably looking at averages per 100, so we'll see what she comes in after the first 4 lengths and see if she can average that going through the swim. But at the moment, if we look down in lane number 2, or even if we look here on the screen, look at the positioning of the hand as it's being pulled through. We want to be looking at what we call sort of like a diamond position. If we were to look at both hands in their pulling position together, essentially you'd be able to draw a diamond between shoulder to elbow to where the hand is. And obviously, with freestyle, it's one arm at a time, but we want to be getting into that position is what we call the catch position, to catch as much water as possible. And that's catching with the hand, catching with the forearm, and also sometimes catching with the upper arm as well, and squeezing as much water backwards as possible to propel us forwards.
Our leader, Sarah Thompson, just ahead of Kamila Takayeva. And in third position, Katie Healy. But it is going to be a tight one between herself and Taylor Howe, who's in the red swimsuit and the black cap in the center of your screen.
Yeah, and we'll have to see who is able to hold on the longest. Remember, we are just in the first 150 meters at the moment. So there's still a long way to go in this swim, and anything can happen inside that last 300.
Yeah, and you definitely sometimes see that the form starts to drop off as they get a little bit more tired and as the fatigue sets in. So you'll often see, if someone's not a very experienced swimmer, their first few lengths, the technique is really good, but as they get tired, just the form starts to drop. And it's like anything, when you're weightlifting, as you get tired, you may suffer in your form.
Sarah just dropping off the pace a little, allowing Katie in the pink cap in the center of the pool to start reducing that gap to about a meter now. Now, Mike, something that Dali Youssef just said in her interview with Jane Erbacher was she's a former swimmer. This was pretty easy for her because she just jumps back in the pool. Is that skill something you never lose?
If you are a swimmer and you've grown up as a swimmer, it should be something that you definitely never lose. And the reason for that is the fact that it just becomes muscle memory. You swim so often, especially if you're a swimmer, you're day in, day out in the pool. You're creating this muscle memory going forward as you grow up, and you never lose it. You may lose a bit of fitness, but you don't lose the technique itself.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's been definitely something that has happened to me recently when I jumped back in the pool. It is literally like a fish to water.
That hurts me a little for someone who hasn't grown up swimming. But obviously it's a very hard skill to attain, but once you attain it, you can just rely on it constantly.
Yeah, swimming is extremely technical, and there are a lot of things to take into account with your swim. It's your leg position, your entry points, your rotation, your body position, how much propulsion you're actually creating. And now what I wanted to say was, if we actually look into lane number 4, Katie Healy is taking the lead. And if you look at her stroke, she's relaxed, she's smooth, she's getting a nice reach with each stroke, good rotation each pull. Whereas if we look back down to lane number 2, with Sarah Thompson, she's putting at her entry point is very close to her head. She's pulling across her body, and we don't want to be pulling water across. We want to be pulling water back. So even though she's still moving water, she's not moving it as efficiently backwards as she should.
And Sarah also moving to the right-hand side of the lane. Is that like a telltale sign that there's some inefficiencies there, that you're moving around in the lane too much?
It shows to me that the pulling mechanism that they're using in the water is not moving the water directly backwards. So they're pulling across themselves, and again, instead of swaying and getting a good rotation, they end up churning the water. And one thing we don't want to do with the water is end up essentially fighting with it. We want to use the water to our advantage and work with it.
And her hips are moving a lot as well, so her hips are sort of opening up to each side quite a lot if you compare her to a few of the other ladies as well. So she's really rocking from side to side.
Well, Katie Healy's body position absolutely perfect, and Ed drawing red lines on the telestrata earlier on. But just pinpointing exactly positioning of your body in the water and how much movement is necessary to be efficient, and it's not much.
When we look at the kick, for example, in this kind of distance, we don't need much of a kick. It's a longer distance, and if we try and kick as hard as we can from the beginning, no one's going to be able to sustain that powerful kick all the way through. So we want an efficient kick, keeping the feet up on the surface of the water, which allows our body to stay flat, which means we've got less drag to move as we go forward.
Not too far away from finishing. We have 6-minute mark already, 15 minutes on our time cap. And it is heat number 3 of our ladies. And the start of our second day of competition here at the Crucible. It is the Crucible finals. Taylor Howe moving into second position now, ahead of Sarah Thompson and Kamila Takayeva.
He had some good underwater shots there of Katie Healy as well. She had a decent position underwater for the catch of her pull. But one thing to note, she's one of the first people I've noticed today that's actually doing bilateral breathing. So she's actually breathing every 3 strokes, which means she's going to end up breathing to both sides of the body. Now, that's not necessarily a rule that you have to, and it works well. People breathe to one side just as well, but it means that she's going to stay nice and balanced with her stroke.
Katie just then going the touch and go method rather than the tumble turn, which she's utilised the entire race so far. What would cause her to do that?
That would probably be her breathing capacity. So she started off, and obviously as she's going further and further through the swim, the race is taking its toll on her a little bit more, so that when she's coming into the tumble turn, when you tumble, you are underwater, so you're not able to get a breath. When you touch and go, you can actually get an extra breath at the end of the pull, which means she's just going to get some more oxygen in. So for her in this instance, it's actually going to be more beneficial through her swimming capacity, her swimming fitness, to then do a touch and go. However, she did just do a tumble, which therefore means that she's got that touch and go, got the extra oxygen, and managed to...
So to get that heart rate down, breathing under control a little bit more.
Yeah, recompose herself. Or it could be she actually just came to this end to do a touch and go to see if the judge told her how many lengths were left.
Okay.
She's into her last 50.
Yeah, the last 50 now for Katie Healy. This has been a very good swim. Our time to beat, 8:04. That is going to tick past from Dalia Youssef from our previous heat. So a very quick time from Dalia. And 8:47, Angela Hill from heat number 1. For our fastest times per heat so far. And it's going to be a heat win for Katie Healy, but not our fastest time we've seen so far.
If you notice there, going down that last length, Katie left everything in the water and got that kick a little bit harder, trying to propel herself to the end of the pool as fast as possible. Coming up now is Taylor Howe.
Yeah,
she's in her last length.
Ploughing home. And then Sarah Thompson, Camilla Takayeva. This is going to be a tight battle for third. Taylor in at 8:43. It is going to be Camilla Takayeva just ahead of Sarah Thompson. Placing's important.
4 athletes under 9 minutes in this heat. We're starting to see some times that are going to be affecting the leaderboard as well.
How are your predictions going for me, Kate?
I'm still standing strong with my predictions. They're going to come through. They took a little while yesterday, but they came through. I'm backing myself.
Luka Jukic coming home strong, very, very late in the 1,000 metre run yesterday to be the only male to go under your prediction.
If not, I'll just stick Mike in the pool and make him do my prediction for me. Chuck him a pair of goggles.
Oh, we've got some time between the women and the men, so we might be able to throw him in there.
I do actually have my goggles in the bag. A swimmer never leaves anywhere without his goggles.
I use my goggles to cut onions at home so I don't cry.
See?
There we go.
Multi-purpose.
Evie Hollis about to get the touch at the far end. And that will be 425 metres down for her. And for Dana Paran with a great deadlift yesterday of 155 kilos.
Yeah, she's coming into her last length as well.
That was an amazing deadlift.
Great deadlift.
So Evie's going to have another 50 metres to go when she touches the end here. 2 more lengths remaining for her. She should get under the time cap as well. So this will be our first heat where every swimmer makes it through to the next stage.
Paran getting finished up, 10:27. And Evie Hollis.
Just on her last 2 lengths.
Last 2, yeah. And getting a little bit warmer this morning. Heat number 1, the chill was in the air. The sun's risen now, and it's getting a lot warmer.
And I think one thing to note, actually, which is, keeping everything fair, no one's been allowed in the pool before the start of the race. So no one's actually been allowed to do any swimming to warm up. Their warm-up has been solely on dry land.
Jane said that there was someone doing burpees by the side of the pool to warm up.
Absolutely. You've got to get
I don't know who they are, but I like them.
Yeah, got to get the heart rate up, got to get the blood flowing, and again, keeping themselves warm before they enter the water.
Yeah, we'll probably get to that a little bit more in our 4th heat, which is about to come. Evie Hollis, only 25 metres remaining. And that will see heat number 3 off and our final heat taking to the water. in about 6 minutes from now. Hollis done in 11:28, and that is the final athlete of heat number 3. But a very quick time from Katie Healy, but not the quickest we've seen so far. And how much faster are they going to get?
Only time will tell, Jeremy.
7:37.
All right, let's head down to the pool deck with Jane Urbacher.
Katie, you had a great swim. I want to know what was going through your head because you had so many of the other athletes right there. They were like biting on your heels.
Yeah, well, I actually didn't look at them. I just saw one outside of my eye once and I was like, oh shit, right, she's ahead of me. And I was like, okay, right, just get ahead of her and just stay ahead. And then I just tried to just think to myself, because literally last night I was like, what happens if I can't breathe? Like there was just the most stupidest things going through my head. So I was like, look, just get out in front of her and then just do your own race. That's what I did then after that.
It's good to know you're human because you were so cool the whole way through. I was just telling you I'm excited to see your bike erg. How are you feeling about the 20-minute watt test?
Yeah, I'm really nervous. It's obviously because it's one that I know that I can do really well in. And like the past 2 weeks, I only flew in Friday night. So like the past 2 weeks, all I've been thinking about is the bike. And then I was like, what about if my legs don't work? I'm like, come on, just get over it and just go for it. But it's going to hurt. It's going to really hurt. That's what I'm afraid of.
Your legs are going to work and recover well. Have a great day.
Brilliant, thank you.
I think we are all finding Katie Healy to be our new favourite person ever. But that was a clinical performance, Brian. As not just that she was prevalent and so good in the swim, but in the push for the top 10, if she's also eyeing that bike erg, she set herself up, for a slam dunk on day number 2.
Yeah, I mean, 5th place here last year, so she's done it before, and she's got some good workouts on the last day. The swim obviously helping out, but unlike the previous heat, she didn't come out hot. She just kind of lingered, and then in the middle of it, she made her move, excelled. 22 seconds on the final lap and came home with a nice finish.
Yeah, 22 seconds on the final lap. I feel like the experienced swimmers are able to pace far more effectively than those who think they can go out hell to maintain.
Similar to the 1K run yesterday. You don't need to win the first 100 meters. If you know that you have that discipline in your background, you can kind of just stay in relevant distance and then make your move middle to last third of the event.
Ed, what did you make of it?
Well, Lauren, I have a breakdown here of Katie and her swimming. So we're going to look at 2 angles. Number one, we're going to look at the surface. Now, we're just going to pause here for a second because I want to just bring attention to the kick. Mike Bourne has been exceptional at breaking down the swim, and he talked about the importance of just keeping a relaxed kick. Now, if we just let this play out in slow motion, you'll see that her kick timing is almost in tune with her arm stroke. So she's not kicking frantically, so she's really saving energy in the legs. Now, we're going to pause here. We have these really cool underwater action shots. So Katie Healy is here on the left of our screen. Now, we're going to pause there for a second because I want to show you something, guys. When we look at body line, Mike talked about this idea of the arms being train tracks. So if you imagine a straight line here, that's her body. I know it's at an angle. And then we've got to think about the train track. So we've got one arm coming down this side and one arm coming down this side. Now, if we watch this, and we're going to pause just in a second. Perfect. There's that straight body line here. So that's the body. I want left arm here, right arm here. And what we don't want to see is arms coming across the body. So if we just play this out in slow motion, she does a great job here, and you can see it. As she reaches, the arm enters the water, and then she pulls down and back to the side of the body, allowing her to maximize propulsion. It comes across a little bit at the end, but the right side, she does a great job too. So very cool to have this underwater angle to really show what proficient swimmers are able to achieve with regards to the train tracks and the arm staying on the side of the body.
One thing that is really interesting about this, opposed to maybe some of the other water events that we've seen, is athletes aren't getting time in the water, Brian, before being able to put out a max effort over 500 meters. How would you be warming up for stuff like this?
Well, you can see a shot on the screen here, and these are some experienced swimmers, by the way, and Emily DeRoy and Jamie Simmons that are really loosening up the lats. And then, as Kate was celebrating, Jane was talking about it, get a few burpees in, get the heart rate up a little bit. So just take advantage of the environment that you have.
I love how chilled they both look.
I think there's 2 things they've got to think about here. So Brian's just alluded to the range of motion required for the swim, right? So the shoulder plays a really big part in being able to get that arm up and out of the water. So releasing the lats, releasing the pecs, going to give them great range of motion. But then we've got to think about the energy system too. The aerobic system is predominantly going to be at work for a 500-meter swim. We've got 7 to 10 minutes of continuous work. So what we ideally want is the athletes to find a way to get their aerobic system primed for this swim, because you can't get in the water. Well, what other methods do we have to get the heart rate up and sustained really for at least 30 seconds to a minute is what I'm looking at. So if you don't have ergs and you don't have the ability to swim, what have you got? Burpees is probably one of the easiest, simplest ways to get your heart rate up, but also get the upper body and lower body working together. So yeah, I love the fact that the athletes have to get creative here in the warm-up area.
So we have our next heat coming up, but let's take a look at our workout results so far. Katie Healy with her 8:18.30. Placing herself into third. Dalia Youssef, though, has just set an incredible time at 8:04. Are we going to see someone go under the 8-minute mark here this afternoon? Brian's nodding his head. I think it's safe to say we probably will in our next and final heat. Also a great run from Taylor Howell there with an 8:44.30. These guys have been on that cut line to the top 10. If you come in the top 10 at the close of play today, you're taking home over $5,000. So it's well worth making that push. All right, we have got more to come. We'll see you shortly.
Day number 2, the Crucible finals are here, and workout number 4 is here as well. We are 3 heats down. We have 2 to come for our women. And our time to beat, Dalia Youssef, 8:04 for workout number 4. It is the 500-meter swim. Jeremy Austin, Kate Davey, and Mike Bourne with you. Team, impressed what we've seen so far?
Yes, I am actually. And I think they're only going to get quicker and quicker. So I'm really excited for these next couple of heats.
Yeah, I mean, I always just get excited the further and further we get through, and obviously we've still got the men to come as well.
Times to beat. 8:04 is our fastest time so far from Dalia Youssef from heat number 2. Our starting list. See some very familiar names, and one I really want to pick apart here is Jess Towle. And the capacity she has got as a high rocks athlete and what we saw yesterday in the 1,000-meter shuttle run, how's that going to translate into the pool?
So obviously they're different disciplines, running and swimming. She's a very, very strong runner, but they can relate and you can almost cross-train. So because she's a good runner, the stamina and the endurance will transfer across into the pool. Obviously, you do need the technique and the confidence to swim, but it does translate across.
Ida Konkanen, the only athlete on the starting blocks, and getting a very quick lead from the get-go. Katie Healy from the previous heat in 8:18. Our third fastest time today, Anastasia Jasovits in 8:17. But a big gap to our first place leader from heat number 2, Dalia Youssef, with that 8:04. And it is a very quick pace to start going. Mike's got the nod going. He likes this already.
Absolutely, and the 2 people that we would be looking for in this heat are the 2 people leading so far. We've got Ida and Jess, and you can even tell straight away Ida on the pool side, diving in from the block, confident, and also even the swim costume that she's wearing is actually quite a fancy one. So you don't wear that kind of costume if you don't know how to swim.
Well, you do.
All the gear and no idea sometimes.
If you can't be the part, look the part.
No, but they're both leading out at the moment. They're coming through onto their 4th length, so coming up towards the end of their first 100. We'll see what their sort of average pace is, but they're certainly leading off a lot faster than we've seen so far.
Well, Mike breaking down and Ed sort of reciprocating exactly what Mike Halpin has done with the stats and how fast you should be going if you want to get under that time of 8 minutes. How fast is too fast from the start?
Again, very dependent on the athlete. If we look at Jess Towell, for example, barely kicking, but she also has a former triathlon background, so she is a great swimmer. She's used to swimming in the open water where you've got different variables to play with the waves and the current. Here, there's nothing like that, so she can just get straight into her stroke and get cracking.
And from triathlon, you often, from my experience, you don't kick a lot because you're saving your legs for the bike and the run.
Now, with that last tumble turn from both Jess and Ida coming around, Ida got a great kick off the wall, and is that somewhere you can make up distance?
100%. If we've got a good, efficient butterfly underwater kick, we can it's actually faster to swim underwater than it is on top because there's less surface area, there's less drag. We're more streamlined with that streamlined position and the hands in front. So if you've got an efficient butterfly kick, you can actually make up a lot of ground underwater off the turn. That's why you see the likes of people like great Olympians like Michael Phelps go into a turn, level, and then come out in front.
And that's also why they have a marker when they're swimming that they have to come up by as well. You can only swim so far underwater before you have to come up.
15 metres. So you can actually see them here. If you actually look at the lane ropes, you've got the red lane at the start, which is to mark the 5 metres. Then the blue and the white is a metre in between. Then you'll see a little red mark. There's two sort of centre line of the pool, as it were. That's 15 metres from one end and 15 metres from the other end. So if they're to go underwater in a proper swimming race, they have to be up before that point, otherwise they risk disqualification.
Does it mess with your breathing the longer you stay underwater?
It can do, but elite swimmers will be working massive anaerobic sets, getting used to that anaerobic threshold as well. So getting used to basically going as fast as they can. They're obviously holding their breath, and they'll get rid of a little bit and then breathe and get that air in. But this is what comes part and parcel as being a swimmer. You have to get used to this stuff and build it in, make it become muscle memory, as it were.
Jess Towell hitting that halfway point, 250 metres down, and now extending that lead over Ida Konkanen.
She's holding her pace as well. She hasn't dropped off at all, so I think we're going to see a really strong finish for her. I think she'll start picking it up in the last 150.
At the moment, she's on for a very fast time, which she should be well under your prediction, unfortunately, Kate.
But I'm happy. I want them to go quicker.
No, I mean, Jess is moving very well. She's looking efficient again, and I'm sure that as we come towards the end of the race, we'll start to see a little bit more leg kick just to get that last bit of drive, but she's looking relaxed. She's looking composed.
She's making it look really easy.
Correlation between a heavy deadlift and swimming efficiency. Ida Konkanen doing a 150-kilo deadlift yesterday, finishing second in that workout, and now backing it up with a good swim.
I think that, again, depending on the anatomy of the swimmer and obviously whether they've got long arms or not, you've got to look at the fact that most swimmers are pretty good at deadlifting because they've got a strong back. They've got strong lats already, which means they can lock into place before they obviously utilise those long levers to stand up with. And obviously, if we look back at the deadlift yesterday, long legs, long arms, short torso actually works quite well. And obviously, some of these, especially Jess, she's got long legs and she's got long arms, so she's moving well in the water. And at the moment, Ida's just moving well too. Again, if you look at both their techniques, barely kicking, just utilising that good propulsion through the arms, relaxing the legs, and again, they're going to need to save those legs for later.
And I know Kate mentioned it before about triathlon and not using your legs because you need your legs for your cycle and your run later on. Are the athletes saving their legs for the front squat that's coming up for workout number 5?
I mean, for Jess at this distance, it's not really going to touch the sides, I don't think. This is a nice warm-up for her. I don't think it will affect her going into any of the workouts later on, whilst I think for some of them who are kicking a little bit hard or their body's working a little bit harder, it will affect them. But for her, no, not with this distance.
I think one thing to mention with Jess as well, Jess was actually diagnosed with inflammatory arthritis a while back. So this is a great event for her in terms of the water supporting her, but then it might take its toll on the body later with the heavier work. So she's going to try and bump her way up the leaderboard as much as possible with a strong swim finish.
I did notice her back taped up actually when she got in the pool.
Yeah, she actually took a bit of time off competing for a while and then came back to High Rocks, I think. You should know about that, Kate.
A little bit. I've shared a track with her.
Jess Tao now with the final 50 metres coming up. This has been a great swim from Jess Tao, and it is going to be the fastest time we have seen so far, with one heat to come of our women to start things off for day number 2. The qualifiers yesterday, it is the finals today for the Crucible, and we find out who the ultimate athlete is going to be. But Jess Tao, she is in control of this heat. She's now put a massive distance between herself and Ida Konkanen.
Is she going to make sub-7?
Go, go, go.
Oh, we're going to get there easily. Jess Tao.
She's actually miscounted.
Oh.
I think she's doing 2 extra lengths.
Looks like she's finished at 7:02, but she's just going to do a cool-down swim.
Yeah, and Ida's followed on as well.
So now we've got a 600-metre swim.
Oh, look.
Stop. No, I'm going to keep going.
They're putting a show on for the fans.
But that's something you focusing on as an athlete when you are in competition. You've got your focus like locked in so much. Do you forget what you're doing? You're just going through the process more so than, or you're counting along the way.
I think when it comes to swimming, when you do the long distance, so for example in the 800 and the 1500, when it's your last 100 meters, that they actually ring a bell. So that you hear the bell and you know. But usually, you know, Olympic level swimming is a 50-meter pool, so there's actually less lengths to count. Obviously here we've got 20 lengths to count, so it's obviously, you know, it's one of those things where you'd rather do two more than do 2 less.
Of course, because the time is still ticking away. Lacey McKenzie and Vicky Campos are about to get completed.
Fantastic times in this heat. Really good. Strong heat.
7:02. That's a very quick time from Jess Tao.
Yeah, and I actually spoke to Lacey McKenzie a few weeks back. She was competing at another competition that I was at, and we spoke about this swimming, and she actually said that she would be happy with something sub-9. So she's going to be happy with that result for sure.
They all look very relaxed getting out the pool. Very chilled.
But as you guys said, this is like it's free money. If you're a good swimmer, it is free money. It's a free event. It is go through the motions, and hey, has Jess Tao probably got more in the tank than that? Probably.
Yeah.
Did she need to show it? No. So this is just, it's an easy pass for her.
Well, this is the thing. Swimming is such a niche sport. Not everyone has access to a pool. And if you grow up swimming, there's your advantage. But everyone has access to floor for them to run on, for example. So when it comes to a run, you might be a great runner and be able to win a race, but there's so much more discrepancy with the rest of the leaderboard than when it comes to the pool.
Julia Błaszczykowska about to finish off her final turn and her final length coming up. But even with that extra 50 metres that the girls have done, it's not going to worry them too much because they're so efficient.
And they've got, some of them have got a triathlon background, so I'm quite excited and Jane is very excited about the bike erg, but I'm excited to watch them on that discipline as well, because it's going to be something that they're very used to. So I think we're going to see some very strong bike ergs.
That's what every athlete has earmarked, that one as the one that's either going to make or break. But Błaszczykowska gets done 10:18, all provisional times until we get to that official leaderboard a little bit later on. Jess Tao, amazing performance.
She's certainly going to be very happy with that result so far, but I know how competitive she is. She's certainly going to hang around and be watching to see what the other ladies can pull off in the later heats.
Yeah, just one more heat to go, so.
After that heat, we will have a 15-minute break before we get to the men. 5 heats of the men coming up to finish things off here at the pool. It has been an interesting morning so far. We've seen some good performances. Dalia Yusuf with that 8:04. Jess Tao goes, I'll raise you a 7:02. We'll see how we go. But a great performance from Jess Towle as well. And let's throw down to Jane, who is with Jess Towle.
Jess just had a magnificent 500 metre swim, 7:02, but 500 metres wasn't enough for you?
No, I lost count halfway through, and I thought it's definitely better to do extra than it is to do short. But yeah.
We did not want to do not finish. Also, we understand that you are back competing at a top level after a serious diagnosis. How does that look for you now?
Yeah, so 5 months ago I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, axial spondyloarthritis. So I took a break from racing for 5 months, so I tried to sort my health out, and it feels good to be back. But now I just appreciate everything so much more. Like, I am able to do this. And every day I'm happy to be able to do it again. So it's given me a new perspective on sport.
That's awesome. We could definitely see that yesterday when you were running that 1K. You were actually enjoying it, and the swim today as well. So you're actually enjoying this?
Yeah, like I'm obviously competitive, but now there's much more enjoyment because every day that I can do this now is a blessing.
Absolutely. We have loved watching you. Good luck today.
Thank you. Thanks.
What an unbelievable performance from our Hyrox Elite 15 athlete, Jess Towle, 7:02, especially after a life-changing diagnosis at the start of last year. Brian, when we were chatting in the last break, and we went, is there more time to be taken out of this 500-meter swim? And you just smiled. A 7:02 is a whole minute.
Yeah, and it's an exceptional time. I mean, I was aware of Ida Konkinen's capacity in the water, and we still have Jamie Simmons and Emily DeRoy to go. I wasn't as familiar with Jess, but straight from the start, I knew she was going to be competitive with Ida. Mike mentioned it. We had a 500-meter swim at high-level competition 6 weeks ago at the World Fitness Finals. That would have placed third, ahead of Emma Tall, a well-renowned swimmer in the CrossFit world. So Jess is clearly a lead in this discipline, and I think that Jamie and Emily absolutely took note of those 2 times.
I have no doubt they'll be on the sidelines thinking, oh, we have got a mountain to climb. Ed, you broke it down.
Yes, Lauren. So we're going to have a look at our GB triathlete, Jess Towle here. Now, just going to pause this for a second because I want to talk about a few things here. Now, when we talk about the breathing position, so we're looking at head position. Now, most people, when we think about breathing, we're just thinking about getting oxygen into the body to allow us to swim, because a lot of the time in the swim, breath is held. But breathing technique massively contributes to efficiency, technique, and ultimately how fast the athlete can go. So if we just roll this out, we're going to put this in slow motion, we're just seeing this really nice, straight, streamlined body that's sitting just on the surface. And when she breathes here, notice the head doesn't fully lift out the water. She's turning the head just enough. We're about to see it in just a second. Her head turns, we're going to pause there, just enough so that the mouth is fully exiting the water and she can get a full breath. And what we see with all of the other athletes is the head, fully lifting up and out of the water and creating that drag and killing the speed. So this is probably one of the massive contributors to what was making Jess so good here. And I just want to add to this is that for most of these guys in the pool, it's not just about aerobic capacity. Maybe when we look at the bike erg, although I'm sure Jane's going to disagree with me here, lower technique movement, right? More of an expression of just aerobic capacity, but in the pool, technique for most of these guys is going to be the massive separator that ultimately tells them where they finish on the leaderboard.
What I feel has been really interesting about this is we are seeing kind of very proficient athletes who come from a separate sporting backgrounds really excelling in something like swimming, where it is a skill, and something like running, where it is something that's drilled and they're looking at minutiae detail. But then we've got these very these athletes that are coming from competitive fitness that have very broad capacities over multiple different domains. In this competition, Brian, who do you think actually has the upper hand?
It's been one of the most refreshing aspects of the Crucible this year to see so many different disciplines entered into a competition. And I think you take away some of the dynamic gymnastics and lifting that sometimes can be a deterrent, and that makes it a lot more accessible for athletes of different skill sets. But nonetheless, across all of the workouts that they're demanded on the 2 days, I think the well-rounded athletes will rise to the top.
And on that note, in the sport of CrossFit, we often see multiple elements all combined together. So, when Brian's commentating, breaking it down, and we're looking at whether or not an athlete's going to do well in a workout, Brian might, pick out the fact that, well, there's a pull-up in this movement, so this athlete's exceptional at pull-ups, but it's paired with a weightlifting movement, which is maybe not one of their strengths. And so when we have single modality tests, we actually get to see the pure expression of what an athlete can actually do at that single thing. So it's really cool. There's nothing else interfering with their ability to do that thing.
Yeah, it's my worst nightmare. It's my actual worst nightmare. Let's take a little look at the results off the back of a penultimate heat, and both Jess Tal and Ida Kontankanen, oh my gosh, Kontankanen have made it into the top 2, 7:02, the current time to beat. Lacey McKenzie there, who excelled on the running yesterday. She's in 7th place. Victoria Campos in 8th. Well, penultimate heat, guys. One more to come.
Welcome back to the pool deck. We are here for day number 2, the Crucible Finals. Jeremy Austin, Kate Davey and Mike Bourne with you. We have had 4 great heats so far. We have 1 to come, and our top athletes after day 1 of competition. And we have got plenty of laughs on the pool deck as well. And if Jessie Smith's in there, we are definitely going to be having smiles and laughs.
Absolutely. I'd say the same thing for Emily de Roy as well. She always seems so relaxed and composed when she's on the floor, especially before the workout as well. She seems obviously very friendly and obviously just likes having fun with the other competitors.
I know Emily de Roy is one athlete in particular you have earmarked to take down your predicted time, which is...
Well, it's already been smashed by Jess Tal, but I do believe that Emily de Roy will give her a run for her money as well. So I think she is definitely one to watch in the pool.
You see what Jess just did. What does Emily de Roy here go? Does she go, I'm not going to get anywhere near, and I'm going to push too hard to get that 7:02, or does she just sit around that 7:10, 7:15? Is that, I don't know. What's the mindset going in here?
It does depend how much she has been swimming recently. If it's going to drain her too much, then she may just want to sit around that mark. But if she's got it in the locker, then I think you're going to just go under. You don't need to. You're in the last heat. You don't need to be trying to get a 6:30 or anything like that. You could just sit under the 7-minute mark.
Emily de Roy will be the furthest away from camera in lane number 7. Syria Miha, second on the podium at the 2025 Crucible Finals, will be closest to camera in the black swimsuit.
I think the one we're looking for obviously is Emily. I think Jamie might try and push herself up as well. I think when we look at the difference between Emily and Jess, for example, we know that Emily's probably going to excel a bit more in the strength events later, so she may not want to push as hard in this and try and go for the win and save a bit more in the tank for the strength events.
Underway for our final heat of the morning here at the pool. The Crucible Finals, finding the ultimate athlete at the end of today. 5 workouts ahead for our men and our women. Our top 30 women taken to the pool this morning, and our top 40 men will be joining us shortly.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to take note of there, straight in that first turn, Emily de Roy in lane number 7 and Jamie Simmons in lane number 5. Emily chose to do a flip turn, Jamie chose to do a touch and go, and the flip turn was immensely quicker.
Now, Mike, we saw some shots earlier of the ladies on the side of the pool getting limited up, doing a little bit of mobility work. You mentioned before that the athletes haven't got the opportunity to warm up in a pool. No one's been able to get in the pool prior. The dry land warm-ups, mobility work, how efficient is that compared to doing a warm-up in the pool?
Well, usually when you're at a major swim comp, you would have the opportunity to swim in a spare pool if it's at a big enough complex. If it's not, you'd have the chance to swim as a big group and swim in the morning or, you know, before the start of the session, as it were, and then you may obviously like to just get yourself wet beforehand. But if you don't get the opportunity to swim in the pool, you have to make sure that you're warming up your shoulders effectively. And when I say that, it's not just the big muscle groups, it's all the small muscle groups as well. So making sure that we're getting that band work in, warming up the rotator cuffs, and making sure that all those smaller muscles and those more intricate muscles are working as well as the big muscle groups.
I'm excited, not just because she's an Aussie, but I'm excited about the technique that Emily de Roy is currently employing, because I know a good swimming stroke when I see one.
Looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Talk me through her technique. We'll start at the tumble turn and let's go.
So obviously she's going for the tumble turn, which obviously gives her a nice bit of propulsion and a quicker turn to start off with. So she's saving half a second every time at least with the turns. When it comes to her kick is super efficient. If you notice, she's barely kicking her legs at all. So she's just making sure that she's kicking enough to keep her legs towards the surface and keeping her body nice and flat so there's no drag. If the legs are dipping down, essentially it's like swimming with an anchor behind you. Now, if we look at her hand stroke and her breathing position, she's very flat in the water. And you'll notice that just one of her, if we look at her goggles, for example, one of her goggles is still sort of in the water. Now, what happens there is, because of the speed that she's swimming and the way that she's swimming and her rotational position, her head essentially creates what we call like a bow wave, where the wave comes down and under her mouth, which gives her space to breathe, but she doesn't have to lift her head to breathe. So essentially she's just turning her head with the rotation of her shoulders and her torso to get into that breathing position, keeping herself super efficient, super flat and super relaxed.
In a nutshell.
I could talk about this for days and go into more depth. I also want to talk about it in a sense where, you know, I'm talking about it as a swimmer, so I could be a bit more detailed about it, but we also want people at home that aren't used to swimming to be able to kind of understand what the movement patterns are that they're moving through.
Right, we're going to do a little bit of comparison now between Emily de Roy and Jess Towle. Jess Towle averaging 124, Emily de Roy a 118. Currently, this is going to be super quick.
Absolutely. And I remember bumping into Emily a couple of years ago, actually, when she came over for DFC. And we actually had a conversation back at my gym, and she told me that she used to be a country water polo player. So obviously myself being a water polo player myself, we had a great discussion about swimming. So I knew that she was definitely going to be someone to look out for, especially if you're a water polo player. You're not only swimming, you're also wrestling in the pool as well. So if you do that kind of thing, then you know how to just swim alone.
We talk about wrestling in the pool for inefficient swimmers, which is me, but water polo players actually are wrestling in the pool.
Yeah, actually.
So are they battling the water and the competitors as well?
It's more so that you'd be battling the competitors. So you're the team you're playing against, you're wrestling and fighting with them to fight for position. When they're actually swimming, they're trying to be, you know, obviously as efficient as possible. However, the water polo stroke is different to a swimming stroke because you have to be a lot more sort of up in the water, shorter arm stroke to be able to swim with the ball and also keep your head out to look to see where your teammates are and where the ball is. So it's actually great to see Emily as a water polo player as well, actually employing a swimming technique and not a water polo style swim technique.
Emily de Roy coming up to the 350-metre mark, 150 remaining as we hit the 5-minute mark. This has been a awesome swim, but something we expected.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that when we look at her, it would have been great to have Jess and Emily in the two lanes next to each other to see what kind of battle that would have been. However, I'm sure that Jess is somewhere sneakily around,
she'll be watching from somewhere
closely to see what time is going to be put on the board for Emily.
De Roy now about to lap Jessie Smith. Just to the right of your screen, Jamie Simmons making her way back as well. That swim cap for Jamie Simmons looks like it is all over the place and at the back end of her hair. Is that going to be causing excess drag?
It's probably just going to be creating a bit of frustration for her because she feels like it's there, but it's not quite coming off. And you don't really, you don't want to stop your stroke for it. Unless, you know, it is actually collecting water. At the moment, it's sort of on the bun of her hair, so it doesn't look like it's causing too much drag. But again, you know, her stopping completely to take it off is just going to slow her down completely.
And you probably have to take, I think her goggles are over the top of it as well, so that's holding
It's
it
not
on.
going anywhere anytime soon. Emily de Roy making her way back, and she will be commencing her final 50 metres shortly.
She's got a beautiful sort of leg position as well, and the kicks just come from the hip. She's not really bending the knee as such. So if you see some of these other ladies, it's more of a kick from the knee rather than a flutter from the hip.
And this is going to be a close finish. She needs to definitely turn on those kicks now to sort of create a bit of a speedboat momentum to carry her through, just to see if she can get under Jessie's time.
I'm going to throw it out there. I don't think she will.
No.
I think she's gone out a little bit too hot. But Jess Tao with a great time of 7:02, all unofficial times, of course.
Yeah.
But Emily de Roy is going to finish very strong in the final heat of our women. Jess Tao will take the fastest time from heat number 4. And going into day number 2, that is exactly where you want to place yourself. But Emily de Roy doing exactly what she needs to do, and it is the second fastest time of our women at the Crucible Finals, day number 2.
Emily moving through the water there, and I think maybe she's taken into account that she knows she's going to do well on some of the strength movements later, so she doesn't need to empty the tank in the swim, probably save a bit of energy for the front squat, save a bit of energy for the bike as well.
Well, if you think generally over the course of what is coming up over the next 4 workouts, she probably can sit there and think, hey, I probably got Jess on some of them anyway. I don't need to win this one.
And it's a long day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We're here till 8, 9 o'clock tonight, so they've got to prepare for a long day. They've got to get the recovery in. They've got to get the nutrition in. And if you don't need to push it, this is the last heat of today for the ladies, so you know that there's nobody else coming. You can play the game a little bit.
Jamie Simmons with the last turn. She is sitting in lane number 5, currently sitting in second position. This could well propel her into first position after 4 workouts of the Crucible. It is the finals. Day number 2 qualifies yesterday, the finals today, and the ultimate athlete is on our agenda. And we are looking to find the ultimate athlete for our men and women. Simmons finishing in 8:38.
Yeah, and if we look at our current leader overall, Astrid Tind, she still has another 50 metres to go.
And that's top 6 for Jamie Simmons.
Sorry, it's last 25 metres to go. So this could shake up the leaderboard slightly if we have some times come into play from previous heats.
That run really did make a big difference yesterday. So I was looking at all these ladies in this heat and in the men, and most of them were the ones that finished well in the run.
Astrid Tind, she is finished as well in 9:19. And that's just outside our top 10 times so far this morning.
Syria Meha, she's going to be coming into her last length now.
The correlation between height and good, efficient swimming.
Height and limb length is what we're looking for. If we use Michael Phelps as an example, short.
Ian Thorpe.
Yeah, if we Michael Phelps, long torso, short legs, long arms. Really, with swimming, long torso, short legs works the best because that mimics a dolphin more so, as it were.
Syria Mihar finishing up just outside 10 minutes, which gives us 5 more minutes remaining. Raisa Blanova, one of our podium getters from last year. Still that 100 metres to go. Jessie Smith is in just outside that 10 minutes.
Yeah, Rasha Baloma, she's still got 100 metres to go, so she's going to have to keep going at this point because there's a 15-minute cap, and obviously
she's got time.
Yeah, she's got time for sure. But also, we have to remember, if you don't finish the swim underneath the time cap, unfortunately, you're out. for the rest of the competition, and that would be a huge blow for someone that is currently in this position. 4 minutes remain, 3 lengths remain for her.
We've spoken about it a lot yesterday with Jane and Brian during commentary about potentially dropping one workout over the course of the 2 days. You could drop one, but probably not two. So if this isn't your jam, take the hit, move on.
Absolutely, take the hit, but you've still got to complete the workload. So whether you're going as fast as the others or not, you've got to look at how much it's actually taking its toll on the body as well. So being clever about your pace, being clever about finishing the workout as a whole, and making sure that you're not letting it affect the rest of the weekend.
If you could choose any event to have double points on out of these 2 days, which would yours have been?
I think it's a very close call of the swim and the run. No, just the swim. Just the swim for me.
I think the run would take it for me.
Thank you, mate. Raisa Blanova continuing on. Raisa Blanova continuing on. And not too far to go. Time won't be an issue either. There is plenty of that leading into our 15-minute time cap. The last length now for Blanova, and every one of her competitors standing at the end of her lane, cheering her through. And I'm sure every swimmer in their life has been in this position.
There's always some point in a race where you're not going to be finishing first, especially if it's not so much so in a shorter race, but in a longer distance race, there'll always be someone that has done the long distance for the first time and is not used to it and doesn't finish as fast as the others.
Blanova getting finished up just on that 13-minute mark, could be just under, but heat number 5 comes to a close. Great to see all the ladies at the end of the blocks.
Really like that, cheering her on and the support. That's really nice.
That's one thing, the biggest thing that I've heard about for the entire first day was how well people are getting on outside of competition.
I think it's the actual style of the competition as well. It's not these workouts are, you know, especially yesterday with the dips and with the deadlift, they're very short. So there's not a lot of time to sort of have someone or know someone's coming between you to create that rivalry, as it were. It's just you're just in your own world competing against yourself.
For sure. And that's going to conclude our women's heats, our first 5 for the first portion of the Crucible finals on day number 2. Let's head down to Jane Urbacher with the Aussie Superfish, Emily DeRoy.
Emily, we knew that you were a good swimmer, but what is your actual swimming background?
So I was a pool swimmer and surf lifesaver for 10, 11 years before I started CrossFit. So I've been doing it for a little while.
We could definitely tell you had a beautiful stroke. Did you have a goal going into this?
I did have a goal, didn't quite reach it. I wanted a sub 7, but I think I got like 7:15 or somewhere around that in the end. But still the fastest I've swum since I was a swimmer, so I can't be mad.
Awesome. And we noticed that you did tumble turns at both ends. Most athletes aren't doing that. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so they told us it was just real shallow up there, but I know how to like move my body around that. So if you're not as confident, I guess that's why you go to just a regular turnaround. But yeah, I was able to do the tumble turn, so it worked out well for me.
Many, many good things to say about your stroke. I'm interested to know, what are you looking forward to the most today?
Definitely looking forward to the press. I love a strict press, anything shoulders, obviously. Yeah, that and the front squat. I do love just some strength work, so yeah, those two movements definitely.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Well, she might have wanted a sub 7, but that performance was nothing to be ashamed of. It was spectacular in the water from Emily DeRoy.
Yeah, and of course, like the guys are talking about, it would be nice to see the best swimmers together, but you also have just this mindset that you have to be able to tap into. When you're out there and you know you're good at it, can you push when you expect to be in the front? She had a goal in mind. I think she's still going to be happy with that. I mean, she doesn't swim regularly anymore, and it's the best she's done in a while. So very good performance for Emily.
Let's break it down, Ed.
Thank you, Lauren. So we're looking at Emily DeRoy here. So one thing we haven't talked about just yet was just basically what's happening with the feet as she comes out the tumble turn. Now, It's very subtle, so you have to look out for it. Right there, you're going to see something called a dolphin kick, where both feet are kicking down together before she moves back into her flutter kick. Now, we're going to replay this clip in just a second. I'm going to pause you there real quick, guys. Now, the thing to think about here is as she comes in, as the feet contact the wall there, you've got to think about this as a squatting position. So for those who lift weights, you're going to really understand this. Both feet are together and they're propelling the athlete off the wall. Now, by doing the dolphin kick where the feet stay together, we can continue momentum moving in this direction, allowing her to accelerate. So we're going to play this in slow motion now. She pushes with both legs, one quick dolphin kick to maintain that speed, and then she falls back into her smooth rhythm. If you think about the number of turns required in this 500-meter race, you add up those 1 little second advantages, and it really does add up to a substantially faster time. So this is a high-level technique, and clearly hearing about Emily's swimming background, I'm not surprised that she was able to execute it flawlessly.
This is the thing about Emily de Roy. We all knew that she kind of had this in the locker, but Brian, we have never seen it in action.
No, it's been a little bit unlucky for us because the 2 times she's made it to the CrossFit Games, where historically we get one swim, she hasn't swum either year. This year there wasn't one, and her first year qualifying 3 years ago, she had to withdraw with a back tightness before she got to the swimming portion of it. So just like Jen Muir at the World Fitness Finals, we'd been looking forward to this. We finally got to see it, and it was refreshing to see.
It was spectacular. I also want to do a quick nod to Jamie Simmons because that was an exceptional result. Not that we don't know that she's good in water. She's got 2 top 5 finishes at the CrossFit Games and a top 10 finish in water-based events. But when you've got that in your locker, Ed, and you're coming into a finals day and you're looking for positioning on the leaderboard, it must bring a certain amount of confidence.
Well, I mean, that's why she's a champ. Like, there's just very few holes in her game. And I think athletes of that caliber, it's why they do so well despite what the fitness competition is. Not having any weaknesses, being proficient in every aspect of your game is such a key component to becoming the ultimate athlete.
Exactly that. Let's take a little look at the leaderboard and how it's currently shaking out. And Brian, things have moved.
Yeah, and you know, this is going to be, I think, a theme of the day. We see Jess Towle, Ida Konkin, and Emily de Roy in the top 3 in this one. That pushes them up into the top 5. All 3 of them are now in the top 5 overall for the competition. And the contrast to that, you had lower finishes of 19th through 26th for Siri Meha, Jessie Smith, and Raysa Blinova, who've now fallen to 7th, 8th, and 9th. And the contrast, one workout to the next with the different disciplines, what Ed's talking about, if you're consistent across the board, you're going to stay close to the top. But a big performance or a bad performance can have huge implications in that top 10.
It really can. It is a big day of competition, and that is our first 30 females who have taken to the pool. I guess what are our main takeaways now, Ed, as the men are going to take on the exact same test?
Well, I guess the takeaways for the women, we're going to start with them first. They've got a break now. They've got 2 hours to actually recuperate, get some food in, get some fuel, because they've got a big 4 tests coming up. And for the men, they're about to go through what we've just seen. They've got a bit of a later start to the day. Maybe that's been an advantage for them. They've been able to see the women take on that race. But, you know, it's one of those things where your technique's not going to change in the next 5 minutes before your swim. You're going to have your technique, the thing you go to, and it's just time to get out there and execute.
Yeah, and I think because swimming is such a specific thing, like we saw on the women's side, we're likely to see good performances from a majority of the heats, and the guys may not necessarily know who's going to be the person in their heat pushing them, if anyone. So if you're in one of those early heats and you know you're good at swimming, with that big break coming, take advantage of it.
Yep, sounds good. Fuel, rest, recover, and we will do exactly the same as we're going to take a very short break. We'll be right back.